Keepie Uppies with Richie and Tots.
Well, welcome everybody to the next episode of Keepie Uppies, and we're absolutely delighted to be joined by Tummery Athletic star player Marty, one and only Marty Doc. What about you? How's it going?
All good. I wouldn't say star player now, but all's good.
So absolutely delighted to have you on. And Richie, we're back together. Seems a while since we were doing one of these as a twosome twosome.
Absolutely delighted to be back, hanging out here in Donegal, unfortunately, for work, not for pleasure. But looking forward to this podcast again, Marty. Thanks for joining us. Looking forward to the chat.
So Marty Hughes. How did you get Marty Doc? I always remember you Doc when you were playing for the underage side. How'd that come about?
I was before mum and my stepdad got married. I was Doherty, so then it was just. But I was like, I was maybe Marty Hughes from I was 8 years of age, like, but before I even started playing football. But everybody just kept my nickname.
Happy days. Well, we usually start off then with, I think I know the answer to this one, unfortunately, but we usually start off with who was the team that you supported when you were growing up, and who was your football hero?
I supported Man United growing up, and Eric Cantona, I just loved him, and he's still my all-time favourite player. Just loved everything about him. Probably not the best player ever to play for Man United, but he's definitely my favourite.
He was some pup. And what do you think of Man United? What are you expecting from them this season? Ten Hag's been pretty ruthless, hasn't he, since he's come in with some of the decisions he's made, and to be honest, he's got most of them right, and stripped the captaincy off Harry Maguire there, giving it to Bruno. So what are you expecting from them this season?
Well, Man United are a massive club and they should always be challenging, but it's not going to happen overnight, so it's important just to close the gap on City. They're head and shoulders above everybody else. They proved that. And need trophies, so I would have been happy last year with an FA Cup. Unfortunately, we beat in the final, but as long as it's progressing every year, not perfection, he's not going to get it right overnight. It's been a mad few years being a United supporter, but got to take it rough with a smooth.
As me and Richie well know, we're both Liverpool men, so with 30 years of hurt, and could well be another 30 years, Richie, couldn't it, the way last season went, but fingers crossed.
Well, we'll soldier on. You'll never walk alone, that's all I'm saying. Too much Man United love on here too often.
It is too. We get a lot of Man United supporters on here. Like we said before, we need to vet them. But so, Marty, I'm really looking forward to this one. Obviously, we're going to start off with your playing career, and you've won a lot of trophies and whatnot. What's your earliest memories kicking ball?
I'm involved now with our underage setup, and I think it's great that there's people out playing football from 4 or 5 years of age. But I don't know about these guys, but it was maybe 10 years of age before I got playing football, and Dungannon only had an under 11 side. So I just remember not knowing anybody and going to a fun week in Dungannon that Joe McAree runs, and I don't know, I never thought it was actually any good at football or anything. And Joe just asked me to come play that evening. They were playing a friendly against a Belfast team, and I couldn't believe it. He made me captain, and I was playing, and I scored, and never knew any players, and I just went home thinking, have we buzzed for this? Actually enjoy it, and that's my earliest memories of football. But I never play. I wish now, I think it's great to see people playing at 6 and 5 years of age, but I never kicked the ball till I was close to 9, 10.
And what was Joe like? He's somebody we've discussed with previous guests. He's obviously going to go down as, well, he is a legend at Dungannon and Irish League legend, but what sort of a coach was? What was he actually really like?
Joe was probably the best management coach you'll ever get. He knows his players. He knows what footballers are like. But he knows what players to put the arm around and who to shout at, and just knows how to get the best out of everybody. And he demands so much. He'll never let you sit still if you play him, good and your standards slip. He wants your standards to get higher again, and have so much respect for Joe. And he reminds me every time I see him. I seen him a few months ago, and every time I see him, he says the same thing. He just shakes his head and he says, "You should have played a lot higher." And before I would let that stuff like that annoy me, but my mistakes growing up, I hope to help others in, and that's why I'm involved in the coaching.
But it kind of says it all, doesn't it? That he actually says that to you, and how highly he rates you.
Yeah, it does. It's nice. It is nice to hear something things like that, But I think now over the last number of years, just personal struggles and things I went through, and letting go of ego and stuff, I'd far more rather be known as a good person than a good footballer, and that's brutally honest, and that's why I try and help people. I went to Africa to coach, and coach from the Tummery under 11s, and I'd far rather be known as a good person than a good footballer. But years ago, like I would have been full of ego and tried to be better than everybody else and stuff, and so it is nice to hear that off Joe. I have total respect for him, but here it is what it is. We all could be better at things in lives, if we worked a bit harder.
Well, that's it. Nobody's perfect. But of course, you had a great wee Dungannon United side. I always remember that under 12. You faced us in the Northern Cup final and came down to penalties. Do you remember much of that wee Dungannon side? And as I said, we had some great battles with you, and there was Portdown boys as well that was in that league with some really good players, and I'm sure you probably played against them at the higher levels. Do you have many memories of those couple of years at Dungannon?
Oh, I love my youth at Dungannon, and I told these boys not to bring that Northern Ireland Cup final up. I missed the penalty in the shootout, and
did you miss golf here?
Oh, big golf was a net, and he's massive compared to the rest of us, and we had a good side, but on under 11s we won every single game and won 3 cups, and I was one of the older ones. A lot of boys were playing a year young and they were held back, so our under 12 team was just a brand new team, bar maybe 4 of us, so going from winning every single game, it was hard to take that defeat. I can remember crying and stuff on the way back from missing the penalty, and I was upset that night. But looking back now, like that day, you think your world's over. But looking back now, at that age, it's not really about. It is nice to win, but it's just about developing and meeting friends, and even developing as a person, your social skills and stuff. So I love my whole football throughout Dungannon youth, all the opportunities and trips away we got.
Yeah, it's a fantastic side. Was there a guy up front? I always remember it was a decent player. Was it Bonner? Okay, no. I thought there was a guy called.
Fella from Oma here, Gary Bonner, he was a good player.
Yeah. And where did he play after that? I just always remember there was yourself, there was Bonner, I think there was another wee right back or centre back kind of was quite good. You actually had half a dozen really good players, but I always remember that we're always told to keep tight on you and the striker.
Striker was probably Blaine Nugent. Blaine Nugent was decent at that age group, and Toaster, he could run, but he just couldn't finish. He was up front.
Couldn't finish.
He couldn't finish. He was so quick and strong and powerful, but he wasn't. He wouldn't get you 10 goals a year, but he caused a lot of problems. Don't know if you remember there's a couple of big boys at the back. James Lavery. Big James played a few seasons.
Yes, yeah. It's funny the people that stick out. As I said, I always remember you. You would have had a few battles where there would have been Buckshot Lavery would have probably played centre midfield back then, and Dacky Leaving. But there were great times. Times where I always remembered under 12, you were just fearless. You never really thought about who you're up against, whereas you kind of get a bit older and you nearly overthink I don't know what you were like, but I know I was a bit like that. You kind of nearly overthink your performance, and you start a game, whereas under 12, you just want to play for the fun of it. Did you find that, Richie? You just didn't really worry about opposition or opponents, or you just really for the fun of it?
Absolutely. At under 11, under 12, under 13, under 14, our teams were cleaning up around them. And it wasn't, as you say, you get a bit older and you get a bit more self-aware. You start, the doubt starts creeping in nearly, or you feel like there's eyes on you, and your frailties sort of come to the forefront. I suppose that's when you get older as a player. It's been able to manage that and deal with that, and makes a difference probably. But absolutely, at 11, 12, 13, it was all for fun. It was all just friggin' instinct and doing it for the love of doing it. But yeah, good times back then.
Yeah, I loved playing against the likes of Buckshot and stuff, and I played against them right up through my adult level, and we ended up becoming teammates for a season as well, and we always had respect for each other. We always get wired in, but I never feared, like Buckshot probably never feared playing against me, but I always believed that when I was 11 right through to 15, 16, I always went out on a Saturday and thought, you know what, I have no fear, I'm just going to go out here and they'll have to worry about me. But there was one guy, I don't know if you can remember, and he's the only player that I ever feared playing against, and it was a big Scotty Best. He played for Portadown Boys, and I just couldn't get near him, Centre Park.
Yeah, he was excellent. He was an absolute animal in there. I think he went across the water maybe to Stockport or Norwich and then ended up coming back. But yeah, he was very good. Very good. And again, he was massive. He was like Goff. You know big Michael Goff, Richie. You see it under 12. He was about 4 foot taller than the rest of us. And then when we got to about sort of 16, 17, we started getting bigger than Goff. I think he just stopped growing at 12. But it was just some size, some keeper.
Yeah, big time. Actually, he's down to the club recently there. Yeah, he's had a good career as well in goals, medals for football in particular. But I remember Goff, remember him well. Good Schenkel man.
That's it. And then, of course, you had a spell briefly with Glenavon, Marty, and you were just saying, obviously, you were told sort of a brutal way, not that, you wouldn't be coming back that particular pre-season. So that must have been tough at such a young age to be told that. We had sort of a bit of a counselling session on WhatsApp earlier over that, but that must have been tough to take at 16. When up to that point, you had a pretty clear pathway through all the various teams you were with, and as I say, I always remember you as an excellent midfielder. It's right the way up to under 15, under 16s. That must have been a tough one to take at such a young age. But I suppose in a way, did you find it made you who you are now?
Yeah, I suppose when you're older, you start reflecting on what sort of character you were as a child, and people would have thought I was full of confidence, but I wasn't. I was full of, fear and anxiety and hated being judged and nervous. But on a football pitch, I could express myself, and all them worries and fears went away. Because I just felt that that's where I belonged, and but I was very sensitive, and I couldn't really take criticism well. And Dixie Robinson and Collie Malone took over Glenavon first time, and Dixie had he phoned my mum and says, look, I think Marty can progress as a great footballer, and I would like to take him to Glenavon, and I know Dungannon would be happy because Dixie was a Dungannon man, and so I went down and just says I'll go down and do a bit of training. I played with the 16s, and then I did play a lot of reserve games, and 15 years of age playing at a reserve level, and you're getting a wee pay packet at £6 back in for reserves. It was mad. But I know £6 is not a lot, but when you're a child and you're playing grown adult football, I was enjoying it. Got to train with the first team a while, and then that season ends. People move on, yourself, and then I continued to do pre-season with the under 18s, and Brandy Grimes just pulled me aside after and says, look, you can move on, find another club. This is like the week before the league starts. You can find another club. You're not in my plans. And Seamus Heath found out that because there was a wee bit of a, Adam Montgomery was playing and his dad was given off and was saying, you can't let that fella go, he's a good player. And Seamus Heath says, I'll definitely take you to the reserves, and played the first 3 games of the reserves. And Shane Massif got a new job, he left, and then a new manager comes in, and you're just left with playing no football. So I rang Joe McAree, and Dungannon took me back with open arms, and went on to win the under-18 cup with Dungannon. We had a great side, a very young side. I was one of the oldest, but with Mark McAllister and Al McGinn and Eddie McCaffrey, Johnny Kern was in that, and with a good side, and it was nice for it to work out, and for me to go on after getting that rejection, thinking I'm not good enough, to go on and win something with my local club.
Well, I suppose it could have went two ways, and you answered it the best way, didn't you? Going and winning a prestigious trophy like that, and not a bad side as well, by the sounds of things. Yeah.
Oh, with a great side, and Dixie Robinson was the manager, and but you're right, it could have went the other way. I did. Part of me did think it wasn't good enough, and I was just going to go and play local at home, and Dungannon being Dungannon, and the good people that they are, they take you back and they know how to work you. They put the arm around you and tell you you're good enough, and start believing it again.
And that's it. It's Richie. I suppose it's something that we've talked about a lot with previous guests, isn't it? It's about, it comes down to man management. You can come up with all the tactical knowledge you want and all these fancy formations and philosophies and whatever else, but it just boils down to how a manager treats his players, respects them, and gives them that belief and confidence, which is something you were good at.
Yes.
Great at when you were a manager.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, but then it's also down to the resilience of the player, because the player can either listen to the manager and take it on board, or throw the towel in. And Marty's shown resilience and to dig deep and look for a new voice, and was resilient enough to go again. As you say, he didn't let it knock him. And so as much as the manager can play its part, the player still then has a big leap to take to show that resilience to kick back in. So yeah, so absolutely the manager plays its part, but the player will show the bravery and the resilience to then come back stronger after that rejection. So lucky to be surrounded by good people, but it's down to the will and the want of the player, and to sort of invest in himself and go again. So credit to you, Marty. I know I was speaking recently to a coach. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, Paul Matchett, on United. And he said what we've probably all heard this over the years, the cliche, but football's full of ups and downs, and probably more downs than ups. But you keep going and you chase down the good times. And as you say, your under-18 cup is a testament to the downs you took to achieve then after that.
But he didn't win the Northern Cup though at under 12, so he didn't.
Sunnyside won that. Well done.
But Marty, you've played with some excellent football clubs, the likes of Coal Island Athletic, who just there recently won the Junior Cup, got to the semi-finals there last year. Annie United, Tobermore, Dollingstown, you had a great spell of success with them. And we'll move on to Tummery shortly, but is there a particular spell at any of those other clubs that really sticks out where you thought, I really enjoyed my football there? Winning trophies, great crack with the squad. Any kind of standout moments with those other clubs?
Yeah, I know my local club, Coal Island, because I'm a Coal Island man, but I enjoyed my spell there. But I was young. I was maybe 17, 18, and I don't know if you remember, you could play for two clubs. It wasn't there. The IFA had no comment and it wasn't as strict, so the Dungannon Swiss Reserve games would have been on a Friday night or a Wednesday night, and then on a Saturday I would have been a free. So I was signed for Coal Island Athletic, and started off Division 4 with them, and played up front for them and got top goal scorer in Division 4, won the league, done the same in Division 3, got top goal scorer, and then done the same in Division 2, got top goal scorer, and was really liked around my community and loved, and at a young age. But the rule came in that I only could pick one, and I wanted to play as high as I could, and I went to stay at Dungannon Reserves, and then couldn't get into the first team. Played a few friendlies with them, and very impatient. Moved on, had a season at Annie United, and done very well there. Got 23 goals from midfield, and that's when sort of a few clubs came in for me, and I went and met Randy McFall at Portadown, and he just wasn't very welcoming. He just felt that he didn't want me. He says I'll be in the first team, I'll get a squad number, but that was it. So I didn't want to be playing poor down reserves because they're bottom of the league every year. So that's when I went on to Johnny Law and played for him at Tobermore, and we finished second in Championship 2, behind Warren Point. And unfortunately, I done my cruciate then, didn't get to play in the Championship. I was out for 18 months with a torn cruciate.
Streamers, that must have been a tough time then for you, because we're with previous guest Niall Davin. He had done his twice, but I think once is enough. But that must have been a tough spell for you.
Yeah, look, it was tough, and look, my own GA club won the Championship that year, and I played every game in it up until I done it and stuff, and you miss out on the buzz, and then you can fall into that trap of the pyramids and self-pity and why this happened to me and stuff. But I just knuckled down and worked hard and done a lot of rehab and a lot of gym work, and I won't get back. But I struggled a long time in soccer. I went back to Anna and I couldn't get into a team, and then I went back to Tobermore and I couldn't get into a team, and it was only for Rodney McAree to put the arm around me and say, look, I'm managing the reserves, I'll play you every week, I just want to get you fit, you'll be good for the young boys. I'll play, I ended up playing centre half up front. I played everywhere from, but I was playing with young Chris Lowe and Jamie Clack, and them boys were a lot younger than me and a lot better. But obviously Rodney seen that I would have been good for the young lads, and plus it gave me an opportunity to get fit again. So I really enjoyed that part.
And then what about your spell at Dollingstown? You were saying there you keep in touch with a few of the boys, is that right? Some are playing sort of over 35, so I'm assuming then it must have been a good period, and must have been a great squad to be around.
Oh, it was a great squad. I went to Dollingstown, they were looking at me, and again, I'm having no shame saying this, my ego wouldn't let me play in the middle of the league, where I was playing a bit hard at Tobermore and I wanted to kick on, but they just get promoted in the Championship 2, and I went to play for them, and I really enjoyed it, and unfortunately we got relegated at that time, after 2 years in that league, because of the restructure of the league, 15 teams in the league and 5 went down, and we finished 10th out of 15, which we were the 5th to go down last day of the season. Goal difference went down, but ultimately if we had 2 more goals would have put us up a couple of places. 3 points would have put us up to 6th in the league, and 6 points would have put us in the top 3. That's how tight it was. And Coke went down, a few others, but I still keep in touch with him. It's a great club. I was there a long time. Hubert Watson, chairman, good friends with him. I put a wee team in the 316 tournament, Dollingstown Old Boys. Watch out for the results. I actually took a spell over COVID being player manager for the reserves. We only get 8 games in, and then it was obviously scrapped, but I love the club, and I see myself being back there someday as well.
Very good, very good. No, it's a fantastic football club. And I suppose they're an example that a lot of football clubs around this area, that want to progress, but like ourselves, that want to move up into Premier Intermediate and into Championship. The way they've done it is fantastic. And then of course you're at Tummery at the minute. We had Ran Hanna with us, I think it was last year, was it, Richie? Speaks really well. You can it's just very clear listening how passionate he is about football and how he's so passionate about the football club. But what's he like as a manager? We talked about Rodney McAree, sort of great man managers. Ran similar in that way. What's he like as a gaffer?
I can't speak highly enough of Ran now. He's very good. I met the captain, Eddie McCaffrey, because I played with him at Dungan, in the shop one day, and he asked me to sign, and I says, no, I'm not playing for Manor West, and I'm happy enough with Dollingstown, because the first team in Dollingstown, the league didn't start, and with the COVID, and that's why I just played the reserves, managed them, just to get football. But my intentions were to go back at Dollingstown, first team, but then I was working with NHS, and I couldn't work on nights, but I went and played. I said we'll play a friendly. So long story short, I played a friendly with Ryan, and the first mission he was out with a tactical board, and he just talks so much sense about football. He's a player manager, and just he knew football, and I knew how professional he was, and how hardworking he was. And after one match, I knew that this club is going to be full of winners, and so I had no hesitation in signing. And I'm glad I did, and every manager has different approaches. Ran leads by example on the pitch as well, and he'll give you a wee bit of a hard time. But he's very good in a different way of man management. He'll not put the arm around and tell you you're playing brilliant or you're doing that or what you want to hear. He'll always keep you on your toes. He'll always make you think that you're not doing enough, that you'll go out and prove him wrong the next time. And and a lot of boys had commitment issues last year due to different things, injuries, other sports, and how he managed to keep up, regroup, united, and go on win the league from being 15 points down. Like, no, I'm not just saying this. Like, no other manager I told him that would be fit to handle that. They would have threw in the towel. So he'll go far if he wants to stick at management.
Yeah, and I don't know what you think, Richie, but it came across like we've just the way he spoke, you could see just his tactical awareness, but also he like you said, he does seem to be a perfectionist, and you could see he was already sort of thinking ahead towards the following season and how he was planning to push the team on and how he would analyse, the performances and look at, the analysis of games to see wee ways of improving things, even just by 1% to push us on. And it's clearly worked by winning the league title the last couple of years. And, he spoke that he wants to push on in the Junior Cup as well, which I think you have every chance. I did tip you to win it this year, but it didn't pan out. But and he's a Liverpool man as well, which always helps.
No, he seemed very consumed by the whole thing, and I suppose it is all consuming to be a football manager. And he's fully invested, and his passion was, they say it blew down through the speakers when he was chatting. It was infectious and everything that he said and done. So obviously that breeds success, and guys like Marty there buy into what he's doing. You can only expect big things.
And of course, the season will be starting soon. You'll be getting in the thick of it in like a week's time. Suppose you're missing it.
I'll tell you the truth, and Ryan knows this. I've had conversations with him at Christmas. I told him I was going to maybe retire, and I've just let on. I'm doing a counselling degree as well. I'm my 4th year of it, and this is my most important year, and I'm going to be doing placement and stuff. And I've a lot on, and I couldn't commit really, and then I wasn't really missing it. And then I had a conversation with him that maybe it was time for me maybe to try a new challenge, but I think that's all just people torching you and planting seeds in your head and telling you, I was offered other wee opportunities, different clubs, but I decided I would go back on Saturday and I played a pre-season match there, and I got a 21-minute hat-trick, so I got the buzz back, and Ryan's good at that. He know how to keep me on my toes. Even all last year when I was sitting on 2 goals, he'd took me off, and he wouldn't let you get the hat-trick. And looking back now, it was always to keep you going harder the next week. And I remember him taking me off and when I had 2 goals and telling me next week I was poor, and just went out and scored 3. Then you go out to prove him wrong. Then so he knows how to get the best out of me. So I think I'll just settle where I'm at now, retire there.
Sounds a wee bit like a Rafa Benitez, Richie, doesn't he? That's what he would always have done.
I'm devastated. I was ready to top you up for the over 35s, Marty, and you've told us you could play it on a Saturday. We need a goal scorer. We really need a goal scorer, but we wish you all the best with Tummery this year.
We need a goal scorer. We need a midfielder. We need a...
Yes, we do. Marty has played every word for us.
Yeah,
I don't think he'd struggle at the over 35s.
I'll happily take him. But no, happy days. And right, well, that is fantastic career, and hopefully there's more to come. I know you're going to be full on this season, but we'll see. And I love the way you just casually put in there a 21-minute hat trick, just like as if it's easy. Like I'll never score a hat trick, even in the over 35s. I don't think I'll score a hat trick.
And when I say that to wind people up, see, no joke, I that wee V one on Twitter and all, and I posted up just to wind people up, because people would torture me in the Dollingstown Old Boys group and other different people. You're playing the Farmers League and stuff, and you know what? I just use it to take back the power. So when I post up the videos and when I'm bragging about scoring a hat trick, I don't really, I don't mean it deep down to be. It's to take back the power to look at that's me just getting one over them. That's my just psychology version of it,
Very good. Do you find though, just talking about the Fermanagh and Western, do you find it doesn't really get the credit it deserves when you kind of consider all the the number of teams that have come from the Fermanagh and Western that have won junior cups, which is like the European Cup of junior football. Do you feel it doesn't quite get the credit it deserves from outside of the division?
Absolutely. Everybody just go on and I just look at results of that new Northern Ireland and I don't have a clue about like what they're talking about. Like, I've played from second tier in this country right through the intermediate and junior, and it's an intermediate standard. That league is 100%. It's better. It's far better. Division 1's far better than Mid Ulster B. And we take out Crewe and Oxford out of intermediate A. That you've got Enniskillen and Rangers, Tummery Athletic, even Cash, Enniskillen Town, Dergview Reserves. They would all be competing for that same league, and I have no doubt in that. It's only because you look at the surroundings here, you've only got Dergview and Ballina as the senior clubs, and then there's no other real intermediate league. And but the Fermanagh Western's a great standard, and it's some great players. Ballina have now went and signed 2 or 3 from our league. Dergview have done the same. And you only have to look at, as you mentioned, the Junior Cup. If you go and you look at even the semi-finalists in the Junior Cup the last 10, 15, 20 years, like it's mostly always from one of Western teams in it. So I just let people talk, let them go on ahead. It's a good league and I enjoy it. It's tough. And I'll not lie as well. When I did sign, I thought I was my retirement league and I was going to get it handy. After a few weeks, I fairly got an eye opening. It's no easy league.
Yeah, it's definitely not. Right, Richie, I'll let you take over. I think I've talked too much.
Marty, so again, you've talked about your playing career. We've referenced, it has been referenced in this podcast before about football being a metaphor for life. Now, away from the field, you've had your own ups and downs, and I know you're happy to talk about it openly. You're now a mental health champion for the AFA. So if you want to take us on that story, on that journey, give us the sort of the background and where you find yourself today and the role that you play as a mental health champion for the AFA.
Yeah, look, I probably bottled my own issues for a long time, and just for anybody listening, and I always try and tell people, do not get confused with mental illness and mental health, because a lot of people do, like people downplay mental health. Everybody gets pure mental health. You could have it for a couple of hours or a couple of days or a couple of weeks. Mental illness is diagnosed completely different. But for me, I had struggles growing up, and reflection now with what I mentioned earlier with my, insecurities and porn. I am always trying to be a people pleaser and people like me and stuff. And I just couldn't deal with it. I couldn't cope with life, without maybe other different things, cling on to attention, cling on to try and be funny, social media, cling on to alcohol would have been a big one too, and I found myself going through a real difficult time in life and couldn't cope as a close to my 30s, and I was gambling quite heavily, and I developed a massive gambling addiction, and I was isolating myself from people, and my football was suffering because I was missing training. Even when I was at Dollingstown, sometimes I had no money to even put fuel in the car to go down, but I wouldn't tell anybody that, I'd say I was sick or I was working. I was gambling quite heavily. Then gambling obviously affects your mood when you're losing money. You're worrying, stress, anxiety, how am I going to get this money, who I'm borrowing off, who am I hiding from? And, it affected my friendships, affected my relationships, my family relationships, and my sleep, everything, my eating. And, and then I started drinking quite heavily to cope with all this, and I found myself at 32 years of age in Newry for 12 weeks in rehab, and my life was over in my eyes, but looking back now, it was only the beginning of my life once I surrendered to both gambling and alcohol, which I'm come to approaching 4 years off both of them. My life's good. I've turned it around and I'm enjoying my football. I'm giving back now to people. I'm coaching. I'm also, as I mentioned earlier, nearly qualified counsellor, but I'm going to continue my studies in level 5, which gives me another year to do more unpaid hours. So hopefully this time next year it'll be my full-time career as a counsellor, and I want to get into addictions, not solely addiction, because I do like the other parts of it, CBT and stuff, but I want to be an addiction counsellor. So I applied for the AFA as a mental health ambassador and a mental health champion, and I got accepted. I met Kylie Robinson, great fella. So go around, I'd share my own journey and talks and clubs, maybe organise football tournaments, for over 35s or whatever, to get people involved. We set up workshops for just for different things, for coaches and parents to look out for kids, if they're feel down, because one suicide's far too many. I lost an uncle through suicide. I'm sure we all know somebody who's died through suicide, or maybe connected. So one's too many. So I'm very passionate about trying to minimise that. One person, I'm not going to change I'm not going to change the whole world, but if I can, maybe just save one person, or maybe my journey, my story. That's why I'll always openly talk about my gambling, my drinking, the crazy things I used to do. If my journey can help one person, then it's definitely worth it. And nobody has to suffer alone. And it's something I'm very passionate about now, is mental health. Just want to add to people's lives instead of taking from it. I took from people's lives for too long.
No, they're strong words, Marty. Strong words. As I say, the bravery you've come through. I'd say you've come out the other end, and you're now giving back. Coaching, mentoring. I say a credit to you. I say, there's not a whole lot I can say, but only just that fair play to you. And we're delighted in Keepie Uppies that we can help you share that message. And again, us playing over 35s football and the Merge Invitation League, the counselling service they provide, all these small things, and being able to talk about openly. I think, I'm sure that you'll agree in your championing mental health, that it's good to talk, and these platforms hopefully will reach the right people, and we can continue to get that message out. So fair play, and delighted to hear that you're 4 years sober, and wishing you every success moving forward.
Thank you very much. It's but as I say, at the start I used to feel sorry for myself, about not drinking and can't drink or can't gamble, because that was my whole life. I worked in a pub, but now, to give up them two wee things, it was causing, there were pain removers for me. They were removing pain that I was suffering. But I had to, through therapy, I found out who I was and what my problems were and what my issues were, my defects of character, and by seeking help and helping remove them defects of character, and now I'm able to cope with problems, And just give you one example there quickly. Last week, my car broke down. Now the car's only new, and the warranty just ran out 2 days for it, and I'm waiting on a new clutch here for it. And I was homebound, and I was trying to get to work, and I was asking people for lifts, and then, but I was sitting and I was my head was telling me, "Frig, what's this all about? Just go to the pub, and that's a mad thing to do," but I was never going to do it. And then I was just thinking today, I would have drank in them feelings. I would have went in the rip for a week to cure a problem, and would have made it a million times worse, So, by doing things, removing things, it's so I openly tell people, anything's annoying you, try and remove it. Don't be afraid to remove it. Somebody said to me, "What do you do now? You don't drink?" And I was like, the million things I couldn't have done when I did drink,
Yeah, absolutely. You're filling that void with joy and energy, and doing good things for good people in your work and away from your work. So yeah, you're filling that void.
Marty, I was just going to ask, what about people that are maybe listening to this? There might be somebody listening to this that they're maybe concerned about a friend or family member. Is there certain things that maybe they should be looking out for? Certain wee traits or things maybe they're doing or not doing that they should be looking out for, and because I suppose males being males, we have a tendency to keep our feelings in, or if we see somebody that's maybe struggling, we don't always sort of approach, "Are you okay?" It's not what we naturally do. But is there something that maybe, if there is a friend out there that suspects somebody struggling with maybe gambling or drinking or something, is there a particular way that they can approach that? Or
there's multiple warning signs, But I think it's if you're a true friend, that what I find, not my friends are excellent, by the way. I just see it in other places, people too quick to talk about people and judge people and say, "Look what he's doing," or "Look what he's doing," but they never want to know the reason why. If somebody's always on their phone, or they're sneaking on their phone, or they're ducking and diving, or isolating themselves from the group, not talking, maybe a bit more angry, always late to things, maybe making excuses they can't go to things. They're probably warning signs that a person is struggling. Maybe gambling and on the phone a lot. Maybe borrowing money is another one that could be gambling. And should be never afraid to. I wish more people had asked me, what do you need this money for? And I had a good people that would give it to me, or are you gambling, or are you okay, or asking these questions, you might think you're going to offend your friend or your family member, but you're not. You could ultimately save their life. Like if you keep asking them, I wouldn't go and accuse them, but I would say, are you, or I'm always here for you if you need anything. No, just letting people know you're always here. But ultimately, it's down to the person. It is like, and I would never go to somebody, even now. I have teammates and other friends who I think might gamble much or drink too much, but I can't say it to them. Might plant seeds, or maybe hopefully they can watch how I live, and that's the way I try and show them now.
Yeah, and I just echo what Richie says. It's a credit to you, and you're obviously having a positive impact to so many lives, which is great. And you're spreading the word, and just sharing your story, and even coming on now. There'll be people listening to this and thinking, you're just really an inspiration to people that maybe are going through exactly some of the feelings that you've had and the struggles you've had, that you've come through it, which is fantastic. So we spun the wheel of Burba earlier. There's a couple of topics I could have stopped on, but it was R&R with Marty Hughes. So if there was a moment that you would relive in your football career, and a moment that you'd regret or you maybe want to change, what would it be? Tough one.
Oh, it is a tough one. I was trying to think out all day. You know what? I'd probably love to relive. Winning our first league title, or my first league title when I was at Dollingstown. Because we had such a bond in that change room. It was something special. I never seen nothing like it. Whether it was quiz nights out or anything organised, everybody was there, and we probably weren't the best team, but we all stuck together. And I remember to win the league, we had to go 11 games to win our last 11 games and won them all, but 4 of them in a row, 1-0 and stuff. And just we beat 5 Mile Town at the last game of the season to win the league, and just that feeling was unbelievable. And I would love to relive that, and maybe now that I have more gratitude in my life, and maybe live it sober as well and remember it a bit better. So probably that one, yeah. And what's the other one now? What would I do differently? I try not to have any regrets, to tell you the truth. Just probably try and learn, to be honest. And I probably, if I had one wee regret, and I try not to think about it because I just beat myself up. I wish I had to be more patient when I was at Dungan. When I was in training with the first team and the reserves, and and at 17, you think 17, 18, you think you should be playing, in the first team. I was looking at Niall McGinn, and good friend of mine and a good footballer, and I was thinking, right, if he should be playing, I should be playing, but everybody's different, everybody plays different positions, so I wish I'd have kept the head down and worked harder at Dungan, and maybe never lifted a drink at that age too, and maybe I could have played a bit higher, but sure, I've no regrets because I've ended up where I'm meant to be, and I've met the people I'm meant to meet, and I've had a great, I wouldn't even say football career, but I've had a great path in football, and I've met some unbelievable people.
Brilliant. And you're going to sign for the Oxford Sunnyside over 35. That was confirmed, wasn't it, Richie? You got the signature earlier?
Well, he's just said he's going back to score more goals in Western Fermanagh, so I don't want to be breaking any rules. That's not our way. But Marty, brilliant to hear. How reflective you are, and how. So you talked about gratitude and stuff. Your path has been, again, ups and downs we've talked about, and you're giving back. You're giving back like great people that you've mentioned, like Joe McAree, boys that are stable in the community. And again, you've been through your hardships, and the resilience you've shown, you're going to pass on to others. You're going to give other people life skills. And you talked about being a good person. We're being remembered for a good person. Being a good footballer is a bonus. So again, what you're doing is fantastic. Again, delighted to be able to share your message, and can only wish you well in everything that you're doing from now on. And thank you very much for reaching out to us and giving us an insight into your footballing journey and your life journey.
Thank you very much. And just if anybody does listeners or does get in touch with you, they can message me themselves. I'd meet anybody for a coffee if they're struggling. Because a lot of people give their time and commitment to me, met me for coffees and chat and support. So I can't cure you, but I can point you in the right direction. And when we say something, we think of these problems when we come in there ourselves. But when you talk to somebody who's been through, like-minded people went through the same issues, you realise that everybody has some sort of problems in their life, and we're not alone. So that's all. I'll just finish on that.
No, fantastic. Again, we'll share any links you want to send. We can put them in the description of the podcast afterwards. Again, we'll be tagging you in it, so be like it and share and share the message.
That's great, Marty. Thanks again for coming on, gentlemen.
Yeah, Marty, take care. Thanks again. Remain awesome, football friends. I hope you enjoy that catch up with Marty Hughes. Some deep, meaningful conversations there, and as I said, don't be afraid to reach out to your friends, your family, your loved ones if you are struggling. And as we've already said, we'll get links here in the description of the podcast. And Marty, as he's already said, is available for a chat if anybody wants to reach out.
Before we sign off, let's hear Marty's Keepie Uppies answers.
Best team I've ever played for, hands down, Dollingstown, the 2016-2017 team. Won the league, Bob Rockcliffe Cup and Boxing Day. Got a great run in the Irish Cup in the last 16. So just even the firepower alone. Scott McCordick, Richie Thompson, Oran Duke. So for me, that was definitely the best team I've ever played for. Best captain, Aaron Moffat. He was captain of Dollingstown, I think, for 12 seasons. 5 league titles, Bob Rockcliffe's Intermediate Cup, Premier Cups, Marshall Cups, you name it. Can't even remember the big man missing a training session, never mind a match. So he was some skipper. Best goal scorer, that's another easy one. That's Oran Duke, Big Dukey. Flip me, man can just score goals for fun, no matter where he goes. We even went to Lockall last year, got a few goals as well. So Big Dukey, best goal scorer. Best touch, Big Jordy Gibson, Big Yaya. I think he's a Ballymena United now, but he played centre midfield with me at Dollingstown, and he was something else. Before we got to move to Lockall and Carrick and Ballymena, great player. Best keeper, is Johnny Kern, close friend of mine. Sadly passed away just over 2 years ago. Played all our youth football together at Dungannon. He's a great goalkeeper. He was mental, but he was an unbelievable goalkeeper, and not just saying that because he was a very close friend, but he was just amazing. Best defender, Johnny Montgomery. When I was playing Dungannon reserves, and Johnny was coming sort of in there the first team. Probably he was a bit older, but he was unbelievable, hard as nails, great talker, great tackler, just a great all-round defender. Best midfielder, it's tied again when I was at Dungannon. I was playing reserves, and Jimmy Glacken might have been 15, 16, and he was so good at that age. Jimmy, now a Korean, great player. But Rodney McAree for me. I only played with Rodney maybe 8 or 9 times at the reserves. He was coming back from injury, he was getting fit, but he was something else. Rodney McAree was unbelievable. Best striker, that's another easy one, Niall McGinn. Played all my youth football with Niall, and under 18s at Dungannon, a few reserves. Scary talent, and you can just see he's still doing so well at Glentoran. Great player. Best left foot, if I didn't give it to my wee mate, Eddie McCaff, he would absolutely kill me. No, Eddie's got a wizard of a left foot. He just, I love putting up little videos on Twitter and stuff with goal he scores, and he had actually telling him he's a great left foot, but sure, Harley Matters, he knows that anyway, but Eddie's got a wand of a left foot. Best right foot, I'll give it to wee Paddy Dillon at Tummery Athletic. Paddy's only 17, but my goodness, how he can strike a ball. Unbelievable. Best manager, I've played for some great managers, to be fair. I've also played with some clowns. Not mention the clowns, but I've played under some managers. Played for, Rodney McAree for a year. He took over Dungannon reserves, Don Murphy, but Big Scobie at Dollingstown. Probably recalled in that I'd probably call it an Oslicker here, but Ryan Hanna, Tummery, he'll go far once he stops playing and gets into management full time if that's what he wants to do. Ryan's so much potential to be a great manager. Very, very, very hard working. Good coach as well. And how we won the league last year, with different things, players missing and stuff, wouldn't have been possible only for Ryan. He just kept us believing and taking over. So, best manager, Ryan Hanna. Loves a hard challenge. Andy Hamilton at Dollingstown. Oh my, what a man. He wouldn't miss you. Quickest player, Chris Coleman. Chris Coleman was a fly machine at Dollingstown. He's since retired, but retired very young. Don't think his partner lets him play anymore. Best all-round player. That's a hard one. I'm going to give it to Richie Thompson, Dollingstown. Just, his pace was frightening, but he could score goals, he could take men on, he can pass, great vision. Richie pulled us out of a lot of holes. He was a joy to watch. Probably Dollingstown's all-time best player, to be fair. Player got better age. I'd go with Glenn Hand at Dollingstown. He signed from us from I don't know who he came from, maybe Tummery or something, but he was at Carrick and he played at a decent standard as a striker and a winger. He had a pace to burn and sort of came to us when he was starting to lose the pace, but he was still a great engine, so he developed into a centre midfielder and he had a great number of years at Dollingstown in centre of the park, so I'll go with Glenn Hand. Player who always gives 100%. I could name me 4 or 5 from my current team, Tummery, to be honest. But I'm only there 2 years, so again I'm going to stick with Big Moff, my skipper. Our Moffat always gave 100%. Training, matches, training games, anything. He was just, no matter what, when he put on anything belonging to Dollingstown, that crest, he gave it 110%.
Keepie Uppies with Richie and Tots.